Hello. So the application that we will be working on today is a React emoji counter. And the purpose of this project will be to get started with React, get a overview of the file structure and how to create our first components, understand how to use state and manage state in React, learn how to handle user interactions with event handlers. And for this project, we'll be using an onClick event handler. And here are some of the things that we should be familiar with and have set up in our computer before this project that we have already covered in previous lessons. Our code editor, which we will be using VS Code, our terminal, GitHub account, and React Dev Tools for Chrome. So let's get started. To begin our project, I will be showing you what our final project will look like. And this is it. So it's going to be an emoji counter. And when we add emojis, more smiley faces come on the screen. And when we remove, they go away. And if you open up your Chrome DevTools, you can see here is our component, and we will be able, by the end of this project, to manage state and track state with our project. So to get started, we will go into our terminal, and we will run a command to create our React application. So to run that, we do npx create React app. And the second component of this is our title. So for me, I called it Counter Emoji App version 2. You can call it anything that you'd like. And when we press enter here, it's going to generate all of the file structures. And it does take a little bit of time. So to save us some time, I've already done this on my computer, but you can pause the video, do it on your computer, and then continue once the files have ended loading. Okay, so by now you should have your React app created on your computer. And what we can do now is we can CD into our project. So I'm going to do CD counter emoji app version 2. And now that we're here, I've set up my terminal to be inside of my VS Code so that you guys can see it at the same time. But everything that I'm writing here on the VS Code terminal, you can also do inside of your iTerm. So I'm inside of Counter Emoji App version 2. And this should be whatever you called your project. And what I'm going to do here is I am going to initialize Git. So throughout our project, we've already covered Git commits a little bit, but we are going to want to commit our work, and we're going to want to save our work as we go. So we need to initialize Git, and then we are going to do Git status just to make sure that everything is working well, and it is. And so now what we can do is npm start. I want to get an overview of what our project looks like. Even if we haven't done anything, React has a boilerplate application that we can see. So let's do npm start and see what happens here. I'm running the sample on another. So npm start. And so what this is going to do is it's going to open up your browser to the project that you have. So this is our project. It's a React application boilerplate. And if you do right-click, inspect, and you click on components, this will open up your React Dev Tools Chrome extension, which we can use to look at components, we can look at state, and it's really useful as your project grows. So let's get started. So we're going to go back here into our code, and just to have a little bit of an overview. It's we're going to get into some of these other files as we grow our project, but um, to understand state and where our things are going to live, let's go over to our public file and our index.html. So this is going to be the point of entry for your application, and where your application will your browser will initiate. So here you see ID root, and if we go into our index.js here, you can see that React is getting this element root and initializing our project. So inside of index.js, we see that our root to our project is called app. This is what the component that is being called to initiate our entire project. So if we go into app.js, app.js is the file where all of our components for this project will be called into. So right now, this is a boilerplate React. So it's grabbing a logo. Here's a logo. Here is Learn React. Learn React. You can see that it matches what we're seeing on the page. But for our project, we don't really need any of this right now. So we're actually just going to remove it. And we're left with just an empty page, which blank slate. We're doing great. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a component. So like we said before, we're working on a React emoji counter. So we need to create a component that is going to be a counter, and it's going to add emojis and remove emojis, and it's going to handle this state. So the way that we organize our components inside of React is we have a components folder that is underneath the source folder. So let's create this folder. So we want to create this folder inside of source and call it components. So you can see that this created this folder components here. And inside of this folder, we want to create a file that is going to be our emoji counter component file. So source components, and then we want to call it emoji counter.js. And you can see that it created emoji counter.js right here. So right now this doesn't do anything. It's not being called anywhere. So it's not offering us any functionality. Let's get started with just the boilerplate of how we would set up a component, a functional React component. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to import React. Okay, we need to import React, and then we need to create our component. So we're going to do const emoji counter, and then just like a function in JavaScript, it's the same thing. We're going to have this function emoji counter return something to us. So for the purpose of having this work, we are going to have it return a div for now, and it can say hello. So the only way that this is going to be able to be read by any other file is if we export it. So let's export, and let's do export default since it's the only thing that is being exported in this file. And we can copy this name export default emoji counter. And let's make this a little bit more readable. Hello inside emoji counter. So now what the next step would be is having this emoji counter be used by our app.js. So the way that we would do that is we have to import. I'm going to put it in front of here. Import emoji counter. And we have to import it from our components. Emoji counter.js. It's right here. So if you hover over this, you can see that it says emoji counter is declared, but the value is never read. So we're already getting a warning from React telling us, hey, you have this thing you made, but you're not using it. So let's try and use it. So the way that we do that is just by calling it inside of our app, just like this. And that's really all we have to do. So now if we run our application, we should see this, hello inside emoji counter. So let's try that. Let's do npm start again from your terminal, and let's see what we get. Okay, and you can see here that we see hello inside emoji counter. And if you open up your Chrome Dev React tools, you can see emoji counter and referred by app. That's where we called it. You click on here, we don't have any props, we don't have any data, it doesn't do anything right now but output this thing. So let's go back here and just review again what we would like to do. So we got started with React, and now we want to basically create a counter. That's the first thing that we need to do. We need to create a counter that has buttons that add and remove emojis. So let's go back to our code and let's do just that. So let's give this name, this div a class name. So in React, we use, this is not HTML, it's called JSX, which makes it so that our JavaScript code can be compiled by the browser. And it allows us to do certain things inside of our return that let us display data in a certain way. So if we use curly brackets, and we can display props in that way, which we're going to do in a little bit. But one of the things that JSX syntax is that we use this syntax to display class name. So we're going to do class name just like this, and we're going to call it emoji counter for the outer div of our work. And then let's just have a header just to have a little title, emoji counter. Okay, and actually, if you Google emoji smiley face, this you can just copy and paste one of these. But I'm just going to put this here because I'm going to use it later inside of our counter, and it'll be easy to grab. So our header, and then we want to display a count. So let's put that inside of a div, and let's do another class name called count or smile count. And then this right now is not going to actually show a count, it's just going to show the text count because we haven't created